Meeting will be called into order. I'm not getting any volume. Okay. Hi, colleagues. This meeting will be called into order. I don't know if our mics are working. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Let me see. Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. This meeting will be called to order. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming and joining us at today's study session. The mayor and council added a few executive sessions, so we had to start earlier than previously announced. But we had announced that the study session would start at 12:30. So what we're going to do is we added the additional hour to have executive sessions. And then right at 12:30, when we announced originally the meeting would start, we're all going to come out and have the conversation that I know you're all waiting for. So what we'll do is we will start study session, go into executive, and then right at 12:30 come out and have the Project Blue conversation, if that's okay. Items 1, 3, and 5 are executive sessions. Ms. Clerk.
Item 1 is noticed as executive session, Stefferson versus City of Tucson, claim number 251172, and is being held pursuant to ARS Section 38-43103A3 and A4. Item 3 is noticed as executive session, discussion of pilot project to shelter certain unhoused persons at 244 East Grant Road, and is being held pursuant to ARS Section 38-43103A3 and A4. And item 5 is noticed as an executive session, discussion of potential water rights settlement agreement with the Pascua Yaqui tribe in connection with the Gila River adjudication, and is being held pursuant to ARS Section 38-43103A3 and A4.
May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
There is a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion carries. We'll see you out here at 12:30. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if we can lower the volume just a little bit, we still can have a conversation.
Return to study session, please.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion carries. I should have checked if the clerk was here.
She's on her way.
She's on her way. Let's see. I wonder if Yolanda can help.
Bambi.
She did tell me that she was going to go upstairs, so I should have checked it. Thank you, Yolanda. I'm so sorry. I should have checked that if someone was sitting here. Alrighty, so we got a motion and a second to come back to study session, and I believe we voted. There was a vote, so if you can help us with item 2, which is direction to staff.
Read item 2.
Item 2 is directions to staff. What is the counselor's pleasure?
And we will read into the record what the motion is.
Thank you, Mayor. For this item, which is the Stefferson versus City of Tucson notice of claim, I ask for a motion that the mayor and council authorize and direct the city attorney and city staff to proceed as discussed in executive session and to approve the settlement of this claim for the amount of $65,959.85.
So moved.
Alrighty, there's a motion. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? Motion carries. Item 4.
Honorable Mayor, with respect to this item, I'd ask for a motion that the mayor and council authorize and direct the city manager to proceed as discussed in executive session and to move forward with a proposed pilot project to establish a low-barrier, safe space for unsheltered persons under a program in collaboration with various community partners to assist individuals to obtain housing and other services.
What is the council's pleasure?
So moved.
There's a motion. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion carries. Item 6. We have, we still have to come back. Okay, so on item 6, we're going to have to come back because we're going back into executive session. We didn't get to discuss that.
That's right. Thank you.
All righty, so we're moving on to item 8. On this item, mayor and council will have a discussion of the proposed data center known as Project Blue. And before I kick it off to either the city manager or our colleagues on the council, I wanted to make sure that Mr. Rankin has read something into the record.
Thank you, Mayor. And we usually read this advisory during the regular meeting. I'll probably do that again, but since we have a full crowd, it's good to let folks know what the rules of conduct are for persons attending the mayor and council meetings. Arizona's open meeting laws provide that members of the public may attend and listen to the proceeding during today's public meeting of the mayor and council. Arizona law also allows the mayor and council to enforce rules and procedures for public attendance at the meeting to ensure orderly behavior and to prevent unnecessary interference with the public meeting. So here are the rules that apply. The rules require decorum and orderly conduct by members of the audience. No person attending the meeting shall engage in conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting, including any statements or conduct that interrupts persons who might be addressing the mayor and council with the permission of the mayor, or that disrupts the discussions of the mayor and council themselves. The mayor has the authority to ensure compliance with the rules of orderly conduct. If disorderly or disruptive conduct continues after a warning, and this serves as that first warning, the mayor may direct the removal of persons from the chambers or recess the meeting itself if necessary. If disruptive behavior makes it necessary to clear the chambers, the persons who disrupted the meeting will not be allowed to return to the chambers for the remainder of the mayor and council meeting. As a final note, please be aware that interfering with or preventing a lawful public meeting from being carried out in an orderly manner not only violates these rules of participation, but also violates Title 13 of the Arizona Revised Statutes. So in short, the rules provide that persons who comply with the rules and do not disrupt the meeting will be able to attend and listen to the proceedings, but persons who disrupt or interfere with the meeting are in fact subject to removal.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. I wanted to make sure that that was read into the record, study sessions, for those of you that have come before. This is an opportunity for mayor and council to study items, to have discussions, and an opportunity to ask questions. And so the community has been given, and it was very important for me and Councilwoman Lee to give Tucsonans a chance to hear directly from developers, from Tucson Water, from TEP on this particular issue. That's why we had asked for a few meetings, 3 meetings in total. We all deserve the chance and the opportunity to understand Project Blue and what it means for Tucson now and into the future. And mayor and council deserve that same chance to be able to to hear and ask questions and have a discussion as mayor and council. And that's why we're here today. So everybody's going to continue having an opportunity to give us your opinion. We've been hearing from all of you via email and phone calls. And so I ask that we act as Tucsonans, that respect each other and listen to each other as we have this discussion. I'd like to start, and then I will give my colleagues an opportunity to speak as well. I know that we all have much to talk about, but I do want to set the tone with this discussion. I've been doing my due diligence as I have been informing our residents in the community time and time again, doing my homework, listening to Tucsonans, learning about data centers, talking to mayors across the country, reviewing lessons learned from other cities that already have data centers in their communities. I've studied the actions taken, talked to friends, talked to neighbors, talked to my children about this. It's important for me to, as mayor, to do my homework on this. And it's important to me to make sure that, that I take my time, in reviewing every side of this issue. As mayor, it's my responsibility to weigh the pros, evaluate everyone's opinion, the risks and benefits for our city and our residents. I do not govern by social media likes or off the hip. I take my responsibility seriously. Tucsonans have spoken out strongly and clearly, and I hear you. I do. Now it is my time to speak, especially because this is our first mayor and council meeting with Project Blue on the agenda. If you think about it, we have not had an opportunity as mayor and council and city manager and staff to have a conversation on Project Blue. I stand now for what I have always stood for. I'm a champion for our environment, for our water. I'm a champion for labor unions and working families. I am a champion for transparency and accountability and public process. Why would people believe that this project will change who I am and the track record that I have? I have demonstrated who I am for decades in the public eye. We all understand that there are risks in saying yes. There are risks to saying no to Project Blue. In this moment, for me, it is important to see the forest from the tree, to see what reality we are living in, And it is my responsibility to create guardrails to protect Tucson from the industry that is already here in Arizona. The champion for economic development because I want our city to be a thriving, prosperous desert city with economic opportunity for all. What this experience has taught us is that I, along with my colleagues on the council and our entire community, are going to have to take the reins to create an economic development future that works for all of us. And so there are two issues in front of us today. One that I think, and you all can attach to it if you'd like, I think that we need to attend to two issues. One, we need to decide the future of Project Blue in the city of Tucson. And two, Tucson needs and deserves clear and enforceable guardrails to provide the greatest protection to our residents and our environment when it comes to data centers. So I'm asking my colleagues on the council to support my proposal to change our zoning and land use codes as outlined in the memo in the material that was attached today, to make sure that we are protecting ourselves from something that is here and on the horizon. And so, as I said, I'm going to give everyone the opportunity to speak, but I do want to move on establishing a reasonable regulatory framework for data center development within the city of Tucson. And this is to make sure that we are protected as a city. So if I may, if I'd like to, if I could get a motion that would move the acceleration and consideration and adoption of an ordinance regulating large quantity water users, as we previously discussed by the Mayor and Council during our June 17th study session, by scheduling an item for Mayor and Council to vote on the August 19th regular meeting on establishing a large water users ordinance. And then two, to initiate the public process required for the consideration and approval of amendments to the city's Unified Development Code for the purpose of updating zoning requirements that apply to large-scale data centers in order to safeguard public health and safety. These amendments will include a clear definition of data center and the design and development regulations and standards that apply to them, and will be informed by examples of similar requirements adopted or under consideration elsewhere in Arizona, including but not limited to Phoenix, Chandler, Mesa, and Tempe. The amendments will also require that applications are reviewed under zoning examiner legislative procedure, which requires approval by mayor and council after recommendation by the zoning examiner. May I get a motion for that, please?
So moved, Mayor.
There is a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion carries. Councilmember Ulrich?
Thank you. I was going to thank you for taking that important step. And I think we've all been trying to communicate through our newsletters. Sometimes it kind of seems like we're trying to talk to each other through the newspaper because we've all been so heavily quoted. And believe me, I think we've all read very closely what we're all thinking and trying to sort through. But I'm very, very happy that we took that action because having that framework rather than being a city, perhaps somewhat like the Phoenix Valley cities who are looking back and wishing they had set guardrails, would be tragic, I think. So thank you for that. In addition, and I know Councilmember Dahl and others are very ready to make it very clear to the community that we're done with Project Blue, and for many, many, many good reasons. I believe we need to shift all of our efforts and focus on the motion that was just passed, pan back, not focus on a single entity or agreement because that could undermine the breadth of consideration and all that we need to understand in setting those guardrails in place. So, and I know that there's, again, been some effort. I do have questions for the attorney in terms of a motion, because in addition to making it clear, as Councilmember Dahl and others have said, that we're not going to consider further or approve Project Blue as it's been proposed. I know we want to make it clear to the manager that we want to end staff engagement around that project. And again, because we need that bandwidth for everything else that we're going to try and get done very quickly and transparently. Mike, I might need help, and Kevin, I know you've discussed this, perhaps others have. We need to remove the annexation and development agreement items on August 19th. It's also my understanding, but I don't know if we need to be explicit, that we withdraw the intent to annex paperwork. I want it to be clear that we are directing staff to take all actions necessary to accomplish what I just discussed. And I would offer that as, an outline of a motion that I know will be subject to
I
discussion.
just wanted to clarify, is that in the form of a motion?
Sure.
I'll second.
So there is a motion, there's a second.
I mean, basically, it's
So, may I get some
Adds-
clarity, please?
So it is absolutely, the point is that we're not going to consider or approve Project Blue. We're directing the manager and staff to end those negotiations immediately. Remove the annexation and development agreement items from August 19th. Withdraw the intent to annex. Is it a petition, Mike?
Councilmember Ulick, with respect to that final point, I think just if you give direction to staff to take any other steps that are necessary to end the process for the consideration of the annexation, then we would take that as direction to withdraw or whatever the process might be through the recorder's office to pull that paperwork.
Okay, great.
But understand that even if there isn't a physical withdrawal of the filing from what was previously recorded, by canceling the public hearing, that ends the consideration of the annexation, because the under the statutory requirements for annexation, that public hearing has to be held within a very tight window from the time of the filing of the blank petition and the map. But you're making it very clear, if you include in your motion, to direct staff to take any other steps necessary to end the process for the consideration of the annexation.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Mayor, if I could, I know that Councilmember Dahl has been also working on legal language and making sure we get this exactly right, so I don't, if it's appropriate for him to be able to speak next.
Councilmember Dahl?
Thank you. These motions are happening fast, and thank you for doing my motion, which I consulted with the attorney, but you're welcome to it. And I completely support the motion and the addition.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And I'll come down the line if Councilmember Perez would like to start.
Yeah, I think obviously this was a very unique situation. I don't imagine we'll ever have a July break anymore. Sorry, staff. All that being said, we were learning new information as recent as today. Like you said, Mayor Romero, you have a lifetime record of conservation, and I know that was at the forefront of your consideration. For me aside, for you, your thoughts aside, I think that what brought me to pause was the matter of if Tucson didn't undertake this project with the progressive mandate that we have and the folks that we have at this table, what municipalities would undertake that project with a voter base and a council with much less scrutiny of the development. in consulting with university personnel, including hydrologists, I think I'm confident now in recognizing if this was a rejection by our council, it would not proceed at the scale as what has been proposed here within our city. That being said, we heard in the information session on Monday, there are prospects elsewhere. And so I now urge Pima County and our counterparts in other municipalities, as well as the public that's here today, to pay attention closely as to what happens next. Because data centers aren't going anywhere, and this battle is just the beginning for Tucson. And all that being said, I know that Amazon Web Services in particular is much more water consumptive. And so if data centers do happen, to your point in regards to the memo that you introduced and the action that we've just taken on that front, we need to be prepared for regulatory action. And I think that, and as we'll kind of get through a number of items today on our agenda, they're all very intersectional. And so the conversation about what we as a city would yield back in property taxes, what the county would yield back in the land sale, how we would care for our water infrastructure in the future, I think we all had an imperative to consider things like that. But as we have explored and as we've heard the mandate from the public, I too would not entertain proceeding with Project Blue.
Councilwoman Lee?
Thank you, Mayor. And as you can probably imagine, I have a few things I would like to say because this has been a very challenging past few months for all of us, literally every person in this room and everyone at this table. So I first want to thank the community. As I was reflecting on this experience, oftentimes we have public meetings and we're lucky to have the same 4 people show up to a public meeting. And as mayor and council, it's so important that we hear directly from the community to inform how we move forward. And with the case of Project Blue, community engagement was not an issue for us. We heard very loud and very clear what the community felt about this. And I understand how much time it has taken to dig into these details, to educate ourselves as a community, all of the time it has taken to show up at forums like this, all of the emails, petitions, phone calls, everything that you all have done to make sure that we're aware of what your thoughts are. I just want to thank you all for your time and engagement because we do have a very special community and very engaged and very intelligent community. So thank you all so much, first and foremost, for all of your time and effort. And I think my kids are really excited to have me back because this has consumed my life also for several months. And so I just want to acknowledge everyone's work in the past several months. I want to talk just briefly about my approach to this because I think we can all agree on the fact that this project got off on the wrong foot from the beginning. It was a little bumpy for all of us. There was a lot of questions surrounding it that a lot of us didn't have the answers for. And so once I became aware to the extent that I was briefed adequately, I wanted to bring a level of transparency and honesty and open communication to the public as much as I could in my little role here, because that was something that was really missing. And so I dug deep, as many of you saw, with the risks of what it would look like for a data center to come, from air quality to light pollution to noise pollution to the true economic benefit of this project. And I also, which was a little less popular, had to turn over the other stones and look at the other side of the coin and say, what does this look like if we say no? And I know that wasn't very well received, but I appreciate you all understanding my process and having to really understand the yes and the no and putting that out to the community. And I'm grateful that I received a lot of communication back that said, hey, thanks for doing that. We appreciate it, but we still do not feel that this is the right path for us. But at least we know now. And that was my intention. So although a lot of folks were not happy with the communication I sent out yesterday, as your friend that will tell you sometimes what you might not want to hear, that was why I did what I did. So I appreciate you all giving me the space to go through that process and make a decision that I can feel confident sitting in front of you all today. Just to be another level nerdier, because I do come from the tech industry, when I first met with the Project Blue team, I said, I feel like you guys are going to be paying for the sins of data centers from
before you, because we've all seen in communities across the country the challenges and the harm that has been inflicted on our peer communities across the country. And I know that I think we can all agree with what we've seen. The way that data centers are being built is not sustainable whatsoever. So much so that I dug into some of the estimates on what data center development is going to look like on planet Earth over the future. So we're going to get a little futuristic for a second, but please bear with me. This is a quote from someone in the industry, Tom Mueller. He said, "The amount of power to run compute by 2045 will be the base power of the planet right now." So in 20 years, at the rate that we're developing, they're expecting to have to double the amount of power on Earth to just support data center infrastructure. And I think that we all know that that's not going to work. Here, zooming out to the United States, zooming out to the planet. And what we do know is that both President Biden and President Trump have said that AI advancement is a strategic national priority, and winning the AI race. And they've talked a lot about infrastructure and the power grid. And what we're not talking about, and what I've heard from many of you all, is that we need to put data centers where they belong. And a lot of folks said, we don't think data centers belong in the desert. And we're going to get a little out of this world here for a second, so just bear with me. I think what we need to hear about more, if this is truly a national priority, is putting this infrastructure and putting federal research and development dollars into looking at data centers that will exist in space. And that may sound wild to you all and a little science fiction, but it's actually happening. There are companies that are building this now. And right here at the University of Arizona, through a Big Idea Challenge, a project was selected called Making Space for Off-Earth Scalable Cloud Computing and Data Infrastructure. So it's not science fiction. It's where this infrastructure can be operated sustainably with 24/7 solar power. There's no night, there's no day up there. There's the coolness of space for the heat to radiate from. And so this is where I believe the ultimate destination for this infrastructure is, and we need to be focused on putting research there and dollars there. And I have been talking to Senator Kelly's office about that because he happens to be one of our constituents and an astronaut. So I think anybody can possibly help us. It might be him to make that happen. So coming back down to earth now, thank you for letting me go there for a moment, and to Tucson, we know that data centers are going to be built here for a while longer, and they can't be built the way that they always have. And I know that Beal recognizes that, and that it has been your mission to pioneer a new way of building data centers in a more sustainable fashion. And I want to thank you for seeing our community and our values and who we are and saying, hey, we like your community. We want to be a part of that. I did tell my team several weeks ago, I said, no matter how much we dig up, no matter how good or bad everything may look to me, what matters most as a representative of Ward 4 is what the residents of Ward 4 think. And so beyond all of the communication we received across the city, I dug deep into what Ward 4 residents want. I made phone calls to everyday folks who don't have the bandwidth to do the level of research and engagement that many of you all have, because I really wanted to know across the political spectrum, what do folks in Ward 4 want me to do? And I heard loud and clear across the board that this is not the type of development that the residents in Ward 4 would like. And so I'll be supporting the motion today. But I wanted to just reflect super briefly, and then I promise I'll be quiet. You know, Project Blue represents a lot of things to a lot of people right now, more than just the data center and the project itself. It's a distrust in government. It's a distrust in corporations. It's a very large distrust in tech companies, a distrust in technology and privacy in general, and a fear of artificial intelligence and how fast things are moving and how little control we have and what does it mean for our society and for jobs. And we have children who are getting ready to enter the workforce, and I don't know how to help guide them at this point because the world is changing so quickly. And so I think that is touching, Project Blue is touching on a lot of those nerves that we are all feeling here in Tucson and across the country and across the world. And so I just, thank you for letting me kind of talk a little bit about that. All in all, I think that putting the burden on our communities to advance the AI race so that we win is not a fair and sustainable thing. In most communities, the cost feels too high and the risk seems to outweigh the rewards. I think we're missing a strategic coordinated plan for where and how this infrastructure needs to be built out to support that federal objective. And states like Arizona and local governments across the country have massive tax incentives to attract data centers to our states and to our cities. And Arizona, starting in 2013, had a computer data center tax relief incentive that needs to go away. It needs to go away. So I just want to put all that out there and say that instead of racing to the bottom, we need to start looking at things a little bit more holistically. And that is my rant for today. And so my job as a rep in Ward 4 is to bring their voice to the table, weigh all of the aspects. Thank you for allowing me to do that and be vocal and communicative with you all about that. And I'll be supporting this motion today because I have a very clear mandate from the residents of Ward 4.
Councilmember Dahl.
Thank you, Mayor. Kudos to my colleague, Councilwoman Nikki Lee. I want to applaud your in-depth digging into this, and the information that you provided has been so helpful. The first motions, Mayor, we have new sound system, and I hope it's making me sound great. Otherwise, there'll be a kerfuffle. The first motions came by so fast. There was a couple of things that I have thought about since then. In addition to the water use, this was a problem because of the energy use. If we can also look at how we deal with that in the future, I think that's important. And if we're talking about putting guardrails and regulations, I think how the cooling is going to happen. I remember asking, is water the only way to cool? And I was given, yes, that's the only way we can do it. But they do that elsewhere, including space. And so I am so pleased that I'm going to be able to join my colleagues in supporting this. And I just want to balance it. There were some good aspects to this. This would have been a boon for the trade unions. It would have gotten us some infrastructure that would have been very helpful. It's the wrong way to do all of that, but we weren't led around like a pig with a ring in its nose to eat bad garbage. There were some incentives that would have been pretty cool. And maybe there'll be much better ways of us to get those incentives to have industries that are much more sustainable and much more in tune with our values, while providing all those jobs and amenities. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Cunningham.
I grew up in the 80s, and when we were in the 80s, you got a computer and you got a floppy disk about this size. And people were like, oh, man, that's so amazing. You can fit all for what's on this pad of paper on that one floppy disk. And then about 2 months later, they came out with this other thing. It was about this size. They were like, oh, my God, you can fit 10 of the floppy disks onto this new floppy disk, and so on and so forth. And then we got jump drives, and then we got beepers and remember the digital paper, on and on and on. Now this thing that I carry in my pocket that I just hit myself in the face with, all right, this does what like a room of 20 computers in my house did. Well, I never had 20 computers in my house, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, that's the difference. So when they say to me, oh, they're going to need all this power in 20 years, I kind of say, wait a minute, aren't you going to invent something in the meantime that you're not going to need that? So I questioned some of those things, and we've been talking about that for a long time. Yes, sometimes you see me driving around town in a 56 Lincoln. It gets about 7 miles to the gallon, and I'm sure people in 1956 said, we're going to need a lot of gas, because they assumed that all cars would take 8 miles to the gallon in 1956. Obviously, that's changed. Now we have cars that don't. So that's my first piece. The second piece is I just want to announce this. Everybody gets what I'm putting down real easy. I announced on July 8th by Facebook that I was not going to support this project. I have not moved from that position, nor do I see any force in the universe ever having me move from that position. That being said, the other piece to this project, probably the biggest piece to this project that concerned me, was we have a flawed system with not having public power here. And the bottom line is that I was not a when the public power people came to me a few months ago. I was like, well, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. At this point, I'm going to make this announcement today with everyone here. Our model's flawed not having public power. We don't really want us. There was no way in this situation to guarantee that if we did build this data center, there was no guarantee that some partial outbuild for the power supply to the data center wasn't going to be passed on to our ratepayers. There was no guarantee of that. And that's why that's a flawed system. So we've got to work towards seeing how we fix that, whether we make adjustments to our current system or whether we go full public, whatever that transition looks like, that's kind of what we're going to be. And at the end of the day, when you look at Tucson Water, they're one of the best utilities in the country. They really are. I mean, if you think about it, in 1998, we had maybe 20 years of water left, 5 years of water in the ground, depending on who you ask. And right now, we have that both sides tenfold. We probably need to apply those same principles on the energy side. So that's kind of some of the stuff I'm coming out with you today. But at the end of the day, the rollout, but just kind of what's going on with the world wasn't going to help make this make sense. And the last piece I'll say is that I'm the most realistic, non-conspiracy theorist guy of all time, but some of these tech bros, some of the things they do is very concerning. So we need to keep our eye on the ball with all that stuff. And other than that, thanks for bringing, I got to be honest with you, Madam Mayor, with all the stuff you laid out early today, you did an amazing job on this. You definitely laid out like everything was ready today, and I appreciate that. So that's it. That's the end of my rant. Thanks for letting me talk.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I know everybody, I feel like all we've been talking about all summer is Project Blue. I was at EXO Coffee Shop, and the baristas were also talking about this conversation. So I think as progressive electeds, part of our responsibility is to do our due diligence, to ask hard questions, investigate thoroughly, and hold space for public input when new developments like this data center come before us. I believe in approaching proposals with an open mind, taking time to understand all the angles before coming to a decision. And I also want to thank Councilmember Lee for stepping up to ask critical questions, push for transparency, and ensure our community had opportunities to engage and be informed. And I really appreciate your remarks. With that said, I'm also clear on where I stand. This project does not align with our values, our climate reality, or the long-term economic vision our community has consistently called for. Over the last few weeks, I've been listening, reading emails, reading articles sent to me, and first and foremost, listening to our Tucsonans. Hundreds of our familias have reached out, deeply worried about what this data center could mean for them, for our water, for our shared future. I've listened to elected officials in other cities who've been left to deal with the aftermath of similar developments. And I've spoken with national experts in AI, data infrastructure to understand what's truly driving this push. What I've learned is simple. Giant corporations prefer to operate in the shadows, but Tucson is not for sale. We deserve transparency and accountability. Today isn't just a study session, it's a turning point for all of us as a mayor and council body. This is our chance to bring this conversation into the light and make clear to the public what's at stake. What's happening here isn't unique to us. Cities across the country are being sold the same story, promises of jobs, innovation, and progress. But what's not being talked about is who really benefits and what it will cost us. Like Councilmember Lee said, just weeks ago, Trump released his so-called AI action plan. Flanked by billionaires and tech bros, he announced a plan to strip away any barriers standing in the way of data center expansion, and that impacts us here in Tucson. He talked about doubling down on fossil fuels and nuclear energy to power them, building on federal lands, and even threatening to cut funding to states that try to regulate AI. That's the direction this industry is headed. So let's be real, these data centers aren't being built to uplift our communities. They're being built to serve private profit and government surveillance. What do we need all this AI for? To store data for ICE? To expand predictive policing? To feed the same systems that already harm our communities? We're told this project will bring jobs and prosperity, but our people know if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Construction jobs might come, but they'll leave as fast as they arrived. And the reality is data centers require very few long-term workers. This won't bring good paying jobs, dignified jobs the people actually need in this community. So let's talk about the basics, water and energy, headline after headline, city after city. We've seen how these facilities drain power and water. We don't need to be scientists to understand that building a massive data center in the middle of the desert is a terrible idea. Just ask Phoenix how it's going. Even though they say this is inevitable, that if we push back, we're anti-progress, and I'm not anti-tech, I'm anti-extraction. I believe in innovation rooted in community, not in exploitation. So with that, I also want to be direct about something that's been deeply frustrating to me. I believe that this proposal should have never made it this far. Our economic initiatives team brought Project Blue to Mayor and Council just as we were heading into summer recess, limiting public input and transparency from the start. It feels like our city staff is taking cues on economic development from the Chamber of Commerce instead of from the people of Tucson or from the elected officials tasked with representing them. That's not how public service should work. City staff need to have a stronger pulse on what our community values. And time again, Tucsonans have made it clear, we care about protecting our limited water supply in the desert. We care about rising energy costs and the urgent need to transition to renewables. We care about economic development that uplifts working people, supports unions, and builds long-term stability, not flash-in-the-pan promises. Moving forward, I want to see city staff working in alignment with the directives of this mayor and council and in deep relationship with the communities we serve. Economic development in Tucson must reflect our values and not override them. Project Blue is not about Tucson's future. It's about using Tucson's land, Tucson's water, Tucson's people as a means to someone else's end. So let me be clear. A simple no vote on Project Blue is not enough. That is why the mayor has brought forward ordinances and guardrails that we need to have in place to protect us. We need to be that city that draws the line. We need to be the city that says, not here, not now, not like this. Because if we don't take a stand, this won't stop with Project Blue. It'll keep coming, and our communities, our water, our power grid, our dignity will continue to be sacrificed for someone else's bottom line. Let's be the city that shows the rest of the country that we're not afraid to ask hard questions and take bold action. Let's lead and not follow. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, my colleagues. Everything that has been discussed and stated here is exactly a reflection of our city. And I said in my introductory that we need, as a community, as a mayor and council, we need to take the reins of economic development, and the community needs to be our partner in how we decide to create prosperity in our city. We cannot leave it to others anymore. Because it is our resources, it is our community, it is our children that we want to make sure are proud of each and every one of us and have an opportunity to thrive in our beautiful desert city. And so I really too have to give thanks to everyone, including Councilwoman Lee, that really was one of the people that said, Mayor, there's all of this information out there that we need to make sure we start asking questions about water, energy, everything. And for me, it is important that we weigh everything. but we hear you loud and clear. And we have to understand as a community that this industry is out there and that everyone, including Donald Trump and Congress, as well as the state, have incentives and policies to preempt cities like Tucson. It doesn't end here, even though this particular project, I assume, will end. We have to work together to push the status quo and question not just your mayor and council, which we have every right to do, but our board of supervisors, our state legislatures, our governor, our Congress, and our president. The executive orders that President Trump has passed are scary, really scary, in terms of the preemption of local jurisdictions, funding withholding of local jurisdictions that pushes back on AI and data centers, streamlining of environmental regulations. It doesn't stop here, folks. So we have a lot of homework to do. We have a lot of work to do. And I really expect your energy and your passion that you brought to this continue as a community to do a few things that we have to do that are laying in front of us. One, that we pay close attention as to what happens after today with this particular project and with this particular issue. That you hold all of us accountable, not just your mayor and council. That's okay. We understand. We are your frontline jurisdiction that you have the easiest way of communicating with. But the Board of Supervisors and their team also should have stopped this right there. And we've got to talk to our state legislators and make sure that our legislative agenda on this table give direction to our team to make this a legislative priority so that the governor and the state legislature understand where the city of Tucson stands on this issue. And then we also have to work together because we can't just say no. What do we want to say yes to? What type of jobs do we want for our residents, for our construction workers and trade workers? What is it that we want and where do we want to move forward as a community to create prosperity, to make sure that our children have a choice of staying here in Tucson and thriving with us? So we've got to take the reins of where our economic development future lies. So, thank you all for coming. Thank you for your opinion.
Your Honor, I think we got to take the vote.
Let's vote.
McSulik? Aye. Mrs. Lee? Aye. Mr. Dahl?
Aye.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Romero?
Aye. Item passes. Thank you all. Thank you. We're going to need a motion to go back into executive session, please. There's a motion.
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all so much. We're going back into executive session. Thank you for coming.